Hey, greetings, this is Fred in Alaska. Thanks for joining me. Been busy with background stuff, just craziness going on. What I would like to share with you today comes from Alvin and Myrna, lifelong Alaskans at the Baskin. They currently live in Anchorage, and back in the winter, beginning of springs 2020, just before the COVID lockdown stuff in February, they regularly hiked with their 9-month-old Tibetan Mastiff at the time. And this particular time, they drove down the peninsula and they went to the Devil's Creek trailhead. And this would be the ending side of that resurrection trail from Hope on down to the peninsula, according to what he said. I've looked and it's not labeled very well, however, irrelevant. They had been hiking for a couple hours. It's wintertime, so you know they were bundled up, right? And their Tibetan Mastiff was loving it. They were giving their puppy exercise. This dog was not full grown. They named it Skippy because when it was real small, it had this little skip and hop, real cute. So it was Skippy, or Skip for short. So for a couple hours as they're hiking through, they started on up the trail, right off of Devil's Creek there. And for a couple hours, Myrna was calling, Skippy, come on, getting the dog's attention. The dog was excited, sniffing here, sniffing there. They were on a packed snow machine trail. Now they're hiking along, and Alvin said something felt off once they crossed Devil's Creek there at Quartz Creek and started up the path. But he just figured, I'm just getting a little tired, but the dog needs its exercise, so let's just keep going. Well, Myrna was just playing with the dog and not really paying attention too much. So they're hiking along, and as they're going up this grade, an upgrade, they're not too far from these switchbacks. And where Alvin was, he stopped and he called Skip up to him. The dog came up to him, and Myrna was approximately 25-30 yards behind him, just kind of looking around. So they were always within eyesight of each other. And Alvin was armed, as most smart Alaskans do, regardless if they need it or not. But he was armed. And as they're walking along, all of a sudden in front of him, there's a little bit of willow shrub. Now this is wintertime, so it's all kind of packed down with snow, and all the spruce trees lined up there had snow on the boughs. So, you know, pristine, beautiful scene. And all of a sudden in front of him, he hears his wife's voice, perfect pitch, perfect sound, saying, Skippy, Skip, Skippy. Dog takes off that direction. I mean, hauls. And so Alvin's thrown off for a brief moment. He looks back, he sees Myrna. She's not even looking his direction. She's looking off at the scenery across the way on the valley there. And so Alvin's really perplexed, and he turns and he looks back, and just as Skip is hitting the willows and pouncing into the snow to make this happen, understand that, all of a sudden the dog stops, parts way into the willows, and is doing its best to back up, and it's in deep snow, trying to get itself turned around. And this hand comes out, grabs the dog starts struggling, gets yanked into the brush, just like that. And Alvin is in shock. He can't believe what he's saying or seeing. He starts running that direction, and it's uphill, and you know, he's slipping and falling, trying to keep his traction, you know. And this is just a snow machine trail. If anyone's ever been on them, you know what I'm talking about. This one is well packed, a little icy, end of the season, kind of just real packed down and real slippery. And he's trying his best to get up there. And as he only makes it a few feet, he's trying to draw his gun that he has in the shoulder holster. He gets his gun out, and by the time he does, he hears noise going from where the dog was pulled into the brush, and he watches the snow fall off of these spruce trees as this thing cuts away from him, kind of at an angle away, going uphill. And all he can do is just watch the snow fall from the spruce trees as this thing breaks through there. He said that he was yelling. Myrna wasn't really paying attention. She was just kind of gazing around, really, you know, just sightseeing. And he gets her attention, and he's already in tears. He doesn't know what happened. All he saw was this big hand, humongous hand. He said when this thing grabbed Skip, it sounded like when it grabbed him by the neck, it almost instantaneously broke his neck, and then just yanked it into the brush, and then, you know, it tore off uphill. This was very traumatic for them, as far as, you know, they've only had the dog 9 months, but if anyone knows dogs, unconditional love they bring is something you can't replace. And they didn't know what to do. They had no one they can confide in. And, you know, of course, the COVID lockdowns came not that much further, so it just compounded their pain that much more. Alvin attempted to go back every chance he could to try to track where his dog was taken. He knew his dog was dead, but he continually tried going back to find this thing and get his, you know, seek his revenge, basically, which I get it. Well, on his third attempt going back up in there, it was real sloppy. It was full-on breakup, and if anyone knows the Alaskan mud on the trails during breakup, it is horrible. It's slippery, it's slick, it's just nasty. And he still went, and he would go up that switchback just to where he, you know, the direction that he saw the snow falling off the trees. And on this particular attempt, he saw this thing. It was not where the direction it took off. It was behind him, going back up the trail a ways, just off in the brush, looking right at him. I asked him, you know, what possessed you to, like, seek revenge like that, knowing that this thing snatched your dog and bolted through the trees like nothing. This thing went uphill at a dramatic speed. Alvin said that he couldn't let it go because it could have been him or his wife or one of his kids. And so he was raised with the knowledge of the hairy man, little people, things like this. They're at the Baskin. They understood, you know, certain things are out there. Never dealt with it personally until that time. He said when he looked over at this thing, it just hunched down and just kind of looked at him, and then turned off and walked down back towards Devil's Creek. And once he made it over there, because it took him half hour, 45 minutes just to work the nerve to get over there. When he got to its trail that went down, there was broken patches of snow in through there. He didn't see any tracks or anything, but then that's when the scream came, and it just echoed all the way up through that valley there. And he stopped then. They haven't gone back out hiking or anything of the sort since. He's planning on attempting a trip, and you know, he's going to be vigilant. They have not replaced the dog yet. His wife Myrna, when I spoke to her, she just, her heart isn't ready for another dog, which, you know, I understand. She was the main caregiver as Alvin worked. She was working with the dog, training it and stuff, so she had a real tight bond with the dog. Man, it's rough. You know, what really perplexed Alvin was the accuracy that his wife's tone, inflection, all of it was mimicked to a T. It really blew him away at just how cunning it was, because the dog didn't know. There was virtually no wind that day, and this poor dog just wanting to, it was called by mom. You know, it's a puppy. It didn't dawn on him that mom's behind him. The dog heard it coming from where it heard it coming from and bolted, you know, just as he had been doing all morning. I'm going to thank Alvin and Myrna for sharing that. Uh, man, just be aware when you go to places that there's potential. I'm not saying, again, I preface this by saying they're not behind every tree. However, there are potential dangers when you go in the woods, no different than moose, bears, wolves, and all that. Just be aware. Don't play yourself cheap. Make yourself a very costly snack if you are going to be one, if you know what I mean. Don't go with this arrogance of, oh, it's never happened before, it ain't going to happen now, because you never know. There's many of people that we've lost to bear attack that thought that same thing. In Eagle River, Jay Bear, it happens. So just don't play yourself cheap. Stick to a game plan. Be safe. Bring protection. And honestly, bear spray is all right, but it's no guarantee. It's just not in any situation. I know of someone that used bear spray on a moose. It did nothing. They almost got trampled to death. So, just be aware out there. Be safe. And thanks again to Alvin and Myrna. I hope she's able to overcome that pain and maybe get another puppy someday. But be careful in Alaska. I don't share these experiences to scare anyone away from Alaska, or I'm anti, anyone going in the woods in Alaska. I'm all for it. I go out in the woods all the time. Just be aware, be safe, and man. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for joining me. All those new subscribers from around the world, I appreciate you guys joining us. I was shocked to see like Guam and Mexico and Hong Kong, places like that, outside of the standard ones, British Columbia or Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, all those, Ireland, all you guys. I appreciate all you joining us here, and we'll catch you on the next one real soon here.